Before we even get into the fixtures, I've got to pick your brain because you're one of my favorite journalists. Let's talk Cristiano Ronaldo. And by the way, walking down the tunnel before the end of the game. I was a former player. Never, ever in a million years would I have ever done that. Never in a million years was I ever at the stature of a Cristiano Ronaldo, but I was a professional. And it hurts me to see such a big figure at Manchester United. Sure, obviously pissed off with the way things are going. But walking down the tunnel is disrespectful to the rest of your team. And I think it's disrespectful to the club as well. What were your thoughts on it?
You know what? I was obviously disappointed, but I wasn't really that surprised. If I recall correctly, it's not even the first time I think that Ronaldo's done that since this second spell at United. Everybody knows, and I think they're sick of hearing it, that Cristiano Ronaldo is not happy with his situation at Manchester United. Yet, he hasn't managed to win around Eric Ten Hag, to prove that he is worthy of, an important place in this Manchester United revolution at the moment. It does start. I mean, every time something like this, it keeps feeling like it's just this slow death, not only of Ronaldo's relationship with Manchester United, but also, the decline of a once great player. And, nobody can knock Ronaldo for what he's achieved over the course of his career, but that doesn't justify, behaving like a petulant child. And I think when a player like Ronaldo does this and does this multiple times, because it's not the first occasion, I do think it tarnishes their reputation a bit, because people will then point to them and say, oh, he's a great champion. But, when you behave like that, are they really? Can we really hold them up as, sort of the most shining example, of great winners, when, you should be happy that your team is, up ahead in the game and likely to seal all 3 points, as opposed to, worrying about your personal situation. I'm going to flip it around a bit. How would you have reacted if a player who, in terms of reputation, was probably head and shoulders above all of his teammates, or most of his teammates, but if you'd been a teammate of his and that had happened, how would you personally, have reacted? Would you have challenged him about it, or, would you have been sort of seething inside? Do you think there would have been other players who might have gone to the manager to say, look, what's going on here? This is crazy behavior.
Well, we must not forget the moment that he chose to do that. Manchester United just put a top-class performance with a big victory, big 3 points, and everyone's sort of celebrating it. And I think Ten Hag handled the situation well with the media as well. I'm interested to hear your points on how he's handling the whole situation, but also what he's doing for Manchester United. He's a different type of coach, Ten Hag. He's a bit more relaxed. He seems to be, obviously, one who is handling the media very well. And he doesn't really care what kind of pressure is coming his way. For me personally, as a professional, obviously it's a different level from where I played. I played lower league, and I played obviously lower in the higher tables as well. So I have played with some of the best players around the game, and I have obviously played against some of the best players in the game. And I've recognized that, there is an arrogance to a lot of people who have been successful, and sometimes you just got to let them do what they do. Cristiano Ronaldo walking off and down the tunnel doesn't really surprise me. As you've mentioned, it's happened before. But I don't doubt the fact that, he is still someone who loves the club, who lives and breathes the club. Great comments coming in from Rafa. We'll get to him in just a minute. He lives and breathes the club, and he's obviously frustrated that he's not playing. He's a player. He wants to play, and he wants to win. He wants to be involved in every game. So I recognize that. I think there's an element of composure you have to have, which Ten Hag is showing right now, dealing with that situation, because this is a magnificent stature at your football club through history. So I think he's dealing with it very well. I would probably be a bit different. I was more of someone who has complete respect for my teammates, and I didn't like at any time, I did not like when anyone disrespected the team, disrespected the badge, disrespected the fans. That was disrespectful. Even though in many ways I love an arrogant player, I would probably be the first one to say quietly to that player, that's unacceptable. You can't do that. You must apologize to the team. And I'm sure he will at some point apologize. Let's hope he does, and things can continue with him at the club. But I certainly think that his future does not look as bright at Manchester United. I would imagine that come this winter transfer window, there will be that offer that comes in, and he will probably be one that might even be pushed out. But I'm just so impressed with the way that Ten Hag is handling this situation, the way he's handling the media. And yesterday, his response after the victory against Tottenham, I thought was terrific. We're celebrating right now. I'll deal with that tomorrow. What are your thoughts on the way Ten Hag is dealing with Manchester United job, dealing with Cristiano Ronaldo, and obviously getting the results now as well?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you opened it up to me, and I think feeding off of that point about the way that Ten Hag is dealing with the media, but also the point that Rafa made about it being easier now for Ten Hag to drop Ronaldo because of his behaviour and the way that he's handled himself. I think that Ten Hag is doing a good job so far. Sure, results haven't been absolutely perfect, but we had this debate the other day with Nigel Reo-Coker and I. And I think that, you can start to see a bit of progress made, in the way that Ten Hag is handling this squad, in the way that the squad is responding to him. Sure, I don't think it's going to be perfect at times this season, but, I do think that there are starting to be some positive shoots. And I think that, Ten Hag, in the way that he deals with both the press, but also his players, I think that's a huge breath of fresh air. We've seen former players in the past sort of talking about how it sounds like, the actual playing of football had been almost sort of been put on the back burner by Manchester United coaches of the previous coaches.
Yeah.
And then, for somebody like Ten Hag to suddenly come in, somebody's really passionate about the game, knows their stuff, and it has an ability to speak honestly and concisely. I think that must be really refreshing for some of these United players who've been crying out, for some real, kind of like old school back to basics manager, because now that they're starting to do those basics the right way, they're getting some impressive results, like the win against Liverpool, like, this victory here against Spurs.
Obviously United got that victory. They look good against Tottenham Hotspur. Chelsea, on the other hand, they struggled to find that breakthrough against Brentford. It was a good game, though. It was an entertaining game. I thought Chelsea were pushing really hard, especially close to the end. Pulisic came on, had a bit of an impact in the game, but Chelsea just struggled to find that breakthrough. Who really has the upper hand going into this game? Obviously, United. Nobody really expected Spurs to play so poorly, but they found a way to get that victory, and it was pretty impressive from Ten Hag's men. But now this is a big game. You go away to London, you're playing against Chelsea. Chelsea need to start to really put back-to-back victories on the table to push themselves and cement themselves into a top 4 position. Who has the upper hand in this game, do you think, JJ?
I think it's, I would consider it to be United at this moment in time.
Wow.
That said, Chelsea's start hasn't been that bad, but I do think there was a lot of sense in what Potter was saying, about how he's perhaps not quite figured out the right sort of combination in attack just yet. I think it is, fairly even pegging, but I think after a result like that, United will feel, very, very confident going into this one. And Chelsea, they've been solid but unspectacular so far under Potter. I mean, it's been an encouraging start. Don't get me wrong; it's not a criticism or anything like that. I just worry in this game that if Chelsea are, look as blunt as they did in attack against Brentford, it's going to be harder for them to find a way through against United. I mean, obviously they have that insurance policy of Kepa being in phenomenal form right now, but I think that United will be a tougher test than Brentford was, with all due respect to them.
JJ, did you catch the post-game from Brentford-Chelsea when Thomas Frank got to ask questions to Graham Potter and vice versa? Did you catch that? Frank asking questions about why you change it so many times tactically?
Yeah, I did. I found that really interesting. I also found the way that Potter flipped it around and sort of asked about the difference between Championship and Premier League, and sort of Frank's journey with Brentford to the top flight. It was a very interesting exchange. Something I'd quite like to see a bit more of in the future. But I think it was also quite telling that Potter didn't really kind of expect to be challenged on something maybe that was sort of he likes to keep his cards close to his chest, and then being asked so publicly about that by an opposing manager. Quite obviously, that's something that Chelsea's opponents, since Potter has taken over, have started to look at, started to latch onto. And I wonder, sort of how long it will be until Potter really sort of settles upon a combination that he feels confident with moving forward. Because this was always part of the task that was awaiting Potter when he took over at Stamford Bridge. There were so many players in that squad, so many potential different combinations that could all play with equal strength. He had to sort of strike that, or has to strike that balance, which he hasn't yet done. And I thought it was a very interesting exchange. And I'd be curious to get your point of view, sort of as an ex-pro, on sort of how those kind of answers and questions tally with what you actually see from a coach sort of in the locker room.
Yeah, we obviously discussed this a little bit in our personal group chat after it actually happened. And, Nigel made a comment that, he probably didn't really want to do that. But people love football. And especially when you're looking in the Premier League, there are masters out there who live and breathe football, who can't wait to talk more about football. And I thought Graham Potter and Thomas Frank did that exceptionally well. I love to hear that. I love to hear the mindset, because each individual coach is different. They're just different, and different personalities, different characters, different the way they communicate with their team, different respect for one another. I thought it was absolutely fascinating listening to Graham Potter talking about, tactically how he approaches games. Why do you change it so many times? And he actually said at one point, tactically, it doesn't really matter. We're just trying to figure out the game, and tactically will change as the game going on. I could put out a tactic, but, the players have got to play well at the end of the day, and then we'll figure out what the tactics are after the players are playing well. And I thought, man, that is a lot of trust that you've got in your players right there to actually get the job done. And also to say, guys, I'm giving you an opportunity here to show me how you want to play, what fits best for Chelsea Football Club, and then we'll move on from there. I thought it was absolutely fascinating. But I find Thomas Frank really fascinating as well. As a guy who lives and breathes football like you do, I love characters like him. I think they're great for the game. And questions like that, what happened yesterday after the game, is brilliant for us going forward in the future. Matt Osman got a great comment here. Man United winning this really turns the narrative on its head. Potter hasn't convinced me yet, and the results aren't great. Last question on Chelsea against Manchester United. Keep the comments coming in, everybody. If you're out there watching, don't just watch. Make sure you like and subscribe, but also drop a comment in. We'll try to get the best ones out there to JJ as possible. Last one for you, JJ, before we move on from this game. What differences are you noticing from the way Potter is handling Chelsea Football Club to the way Tuchel handled Chelsea, with players, with the media, and the way Chelsea play?
And I think that's a really good question. I think that Tuchel is also somebody who is very forensic with the way that he deals with his squads. I think what's been really interesting is that Potter has obviously gone for a very pragmatic approach initially. I think he started with a draw, like a 1-1 draw against Salzburg, something like that, but then followed that up with 4 clean sheet victories, 2 of those being against AC Milan, and the other 2 coming in the Premier League. Another clean sheet against Brentford. So despite the fact that they didn't get the win, obviously the defense has been, the absolute priority for Potter. And I think that is an interesting approach, because if you can get the defense right, then you can build on top of that. And the other thing that I was going to say, to build on your point about Potter and the way that he responded to Frank's question, was it is a lot of confidence to have in your players, but also at the same time, is that not how every coach should approach the Chelsea job? When you're surrounded by that much quality, especially given the spending spree that Chelsea had over the summer, I think that every coach walking into that situation post Tuchel would be well within their right to expect those players to A, want to perform, and B, be ready to impress him, given that some of them had sort of fallen a bit out of favor under the Germans. So I think that Potter has approached it the right way so far, but it also tallies with the previous comment in that it perhaps isn't as sexy as it could be. But I think that if you approach things results first, which is always going to matter at the end of the day, especially in a league like the Premier League, then you're going to be able to build upon that, really stamp your authority on that squad, in the time that comes. And my feeling is that Potter will want to do some transfer activity in January, perhaps make a change or 2 in attack, because I don't think he's quite happy with the hand that he's inherited in an attacking sense.
Let me get a prediction from you. Chelsea against Manchester United, late kickoff on Saturday, JJ.
Yeah, this one's going to be interesting. I think this will be a draw. I'm going to say score draw. Let's say 1-1.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I think it could be a score draw. I could see even a 2-2 in this game. I'm actually slightly leaning towards Chelsea in this game, because I think they need to start to pick up victories. And you made a fantastic point. Not conceding, getting consistency with the defense, and then building from there is so important for what Potter is doing at Chelsea. And I can only imagine Chelsea fans are happy with that. They obviously want to start winning games. And this is a massive statement victory if they do get it against Manchester United, because United under Ten Hag are on the rise. So I'm going to go for a Chelsea victory just narrowly. I'm going to go for a 2-1. Hard for me, obviously, to bet against Manchester United. But at the same time, being in London, Chelsea, after that 0-0, I just can see them getting a couple in the back of the net and winning that game.